Torah speaks about leprosy, and all the commentators explain that the leprosy which the Torah discusses, which causes contamination based upon the pronouncement of the Kohen, is not the degenerative disease which is known to the world as leprosy, but rather it's only a lesion, a white lesion, an intense white lesion, which develops on a person's skin. And the Torah tells us that when this lesion develops, it's an indication that there's a serious spiritual failing within the person. And as a result of the spiritual failing, it generates an intense contamination, which causes the person to leave all three camps and to be secluded all by himself, not to be associated with any other Jew, even with other lepers. The Gemara tells us that this leprosy comes about as a result of a person who speaks Lashon Hara, a gossiper, speaks negatively, negative talk about other Jews, where it has no constructive value. But in terms of the person's health, the person's health is not impaired to any degree. This is how all the commentators explain the laws of leprosy, whether it's the person, whether it's the garment, whether it's discolorations on the walls of a house. It's really something which is miraculous. And just as the contaminated state is assumed due to the pronouncement of the Kohen to be extricated, even if he should recover, until the Kohen pronounces him as spiritually pure, he's not permitted to re-enter into the camp. The difficulty is, we all know, the Talmud tells us, the Gemara tells us, Ein misa b'lo chet, that whenever a person sins, the manifestation and the consequence of that sin always affects the physicality of the person. Whether it's a heart attack, whether it's some other physical mishap, illness, disease. So why, when we speak about Lashon Hara, speaking ill of another person, not within a constructive context, why doesn't it manifest itself in a breakdown in the physicality of the person? What's unique and different about Lashon Hara, about speaking ill of another person, where there it does not manifest itself as all other transgressions manifest themselves? The Gemara tells us that at the end of time, there's going to be a tribunal of all the animals of the jungle. At the end of time, there's going to be a trial. The panel of judges who sit on this court are going to be the lion, the tiger, the bear. The one who's on trial, the one who's being judged, is the snake. And they say to the snake, the lion, it pounces on its prey and it kills its prey to satisfy its hunger. The bear mauls its prey and takes the remains to its den. And every animal, when it kills to eat. But the snake, you bite your victim and allow him to die, and you slither it off without ever having any physical benefit from the victim that you have bitten. So the snake responds and he says, Ma yisor lebala loshon, and the person who speaks Lashon Hara, the person who speaks ill of another person, and he inflicts and injects the venom and slithers off, leaves the man to be hurt, to be wounded, to be damaged. What benefit does he have from it? Why am I different than that person who speaks Lashon Hara? So the obvious question is, What difference does it make if a person has pleasure from eating, kills to eat, or the snake, when it bites its victim, evidently it has some degree of pleasure by injecting its venom into its victim and letting the victim to die. As a person, when he speaks Lashon Hara about another person, it gives him a certain sense of pleasure that he's able to harm another person. What difference does it make? Whether it's the physical or it's just a sense of pleasure and benefit. A human being is a composite of the physical and the spiritual. God infused the soul into the physical body of Adam. As it says at the time of creation, Ve'yipach ba'apav nishos chayim, he blew through his nostrils a soul of life. The soul is totally spiritual. The body is made of earth, earthy. The body is inclined to the physical. Desire, conquest, amassing material. The soul is totally spiritual. There's an ongoing struggle throughout a person's life, 24/7. Does the soul overcome the body and spiritualize the body? Or does the body have the upper hand and the body dictates the person's life and succumbs to all levels of temptation? So what the animals are saying, that if you look at the animal kingdom, what's considered natural behavior? To satisfy, in the physical sense, the physicality of the animal. The snake, it's aberrant behavior. There's no physical benefit. It's purely something which is a personification or an element of evil, which you don't find in the animal kingdom. This is what they said to the snake. It's a nithma. So the snake says, and the human being, when he speaks Lashon Hara, does it emanate from his physicality? If it would be from the physicality, it'd be some kind of physical benefit. It's just a sense of pleasure. So evidently, whatever you see as a negative, within myself, the human being has that same negative. So now we're able to understand, whenever a person sins, sin emanates from the physicality of the person. Because it emanates from the physicality of the person, which he should have suppressed. That physicality did not. The punishment manifests itself in the physical. However, Lashon Hara, which does not emanate from the physical, as was demonstrated by the snake and by the snake's response to the animals, therefore, the ramification, the punishment, doesn't manifest itself in the physical, but rather it's only a tag, an intense lesion of whiteness, which is found on the body, rather than a decomposition of his physicality.